Welcome back, Dynasty lovers, to another episode of the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Adrian, with my co-host,
Scott Martin.
So we took a little break for the past few months then, due to sort of getting busy with our personal lives then, but we are back here and bringing you probably our best content, and that's always been the rookie breakdowns then. And this episode, we are focused on the 2023 rookie QBs. And Scotty, there's nothing more exciting than getting new rookie players on your team, doing your rookie drafts then, unless you're like a person that always trades away your rookie picks. You're not too excited by this. But I always have a good stockpile of rookie picks. I know Scotty is...
Yeah, I'm definitely the opposite of that. But I still love the scouting, and I got a few picks I can, splurge on a little bit.
Yeah, and you always find a way to trade for some and get some of that magic and try to get those rookies then too. So, but I find this is some of our best content then, and like I said, we really enjoy it. We love this process, and then we're bringing it to you again then in 2023 here.
Yeah, lots of hours cutting tape, lots of hours scouting film. So yeah, this is definitely the funnest part of it for me. So let's dive right in. Oh
yeah, and then. All that tape that Scotty cut up then, check us out on YouTube, the Dynasty Interview channel then, and all the tape you need on the QBs, the wide receivers, the running backs, and the tight ends then. So it's good stuff then. So that's what we use for our scouting, so you can see exactly what games we're looking at and whatnot then too then. But ready to get started?
Yep, let's do it.
So we're going into alphabetical order with these group of QBs in the 2023 rookie class then. And what better to start with than Stetson Bennett out of Georgia then. So the two-time national champion then. So we are just recently out of the combine then. So we have all the stats here then as well. So I'll review those off then, give you some context on these guys. But Stetson Bennett came in at 5'11", 192 pounds then. Ran a 4.67 40 then. Had a 33.5-inch vertical, 9 and 10-inch broad jump, and had 10-inch hands then.
Yeah, so 40 was the 78th percentile, 80th percentile vertical jump, and 82nd percentile broad jump. So pretty good measurables.
Yeah, not bad then. And I think it actually translates to what I saw in the film then too. But as far as his production, these last 2 years, very good production then. 2021 had a 64.5% completion percentage, threw for just over 2,800 yards then, for 29 touchdowns and 7 interceptions, and then ran for 259 yards. And then this past year, even better numbers. So 68.1 completion percentage, threw for 4,127 yards, 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and 205 yards on the ground then. So Scotty, I will let you have the sort of the glory, the dibs of starting off here with Stetson Bennett. Tell us what you think about this gentleman here.
Listen, I promise this year not to be so demonstrative because I feel like I get a little carried away sometimes. But man,
you get dramatic. I'll give you that. You get dramatic.
If there was one prospect that I just cannot stand, it's Stetson Bennett. Now I don't let that mess with my evaluation. I'll break him down, but I don't think I came away too impressed with him. He's an okay prospect for me. I see him being more of like this sort of maybe backup quarterback or number 3 quarterback on a team. An okay guy to have in the room, but not somebody that's ever going to really mean much for an NFL team or be an important piece of your fantasy team. But I thought that his mechanics were okay. He has this little 3-quarter delivery that's a little prolonged. His base is okay. The biggest problem is sort of his arm strength, and anytime that he's on the run, he really, has trouble making that velocity up. His pocket presence is actually pretty good. I know he's behind a super good line at Georgia, but only had 9 sacks in 2022. And he'll be able to extend a few plays and use some of the athletic ability we saw there with the measurables to sort of extend a few plays. Again, the biggest knock on him is going to be his arm strength. Longest throw I saw was about 47 to 50 yards. And he really causes his receivers to have to throttle down sometimes and come back to the ball. I thought he goes through his progressions, okay. A lot of what you're seeing on film is just scripted throws, and man, they really involve the tight ends. So, and some of that could be, he has trouble throwing the ball way down the field because he just doesn't have that arm. So they're just having to create a lot of stuff underneath, and a lot of screens and stuff to the tight ends and the backs out of the backfield. But overall, he's a pretty good decision maker. Only 7 picks, and his ball placement, his anticipation is a little bit above average. But I just saw a lot of inconsistency. You'll find throws on there, and you can make a highlight film of all these beautiful touch passes he throws, over top of these linebackers' heads, getting them in mismatches with Brock Bowers and Darnell Washington. But he's just one of those meh prospects that doesn't have. It's tough. You got somebody who doesn't have a big arm, and they're got this small frame. It's tough to fall in love with a guy like that. But he won a couple national titles. He's confident. I'll give him that. And he's not somebody that's super high on my draft board. He ended up coming in at number 10. He got a 65 for me. So tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, you're always wrong, Scotty. But I try to be nice here. But I actually came away more pleasantly surprised with Stetson Bennett than you did. Then I thought his arm strength was definitely enough to be a quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying he has elite arm strength by any means, but I saw about that 50 to 55 yard arm strength when I was counting the hash marks and where the ball was landing. Then he definitely has very nice accuracy, very nice touch in the short to intermediate routes. It does break down a little bit when he has the longer passes. It's not always as accurate then. But I feel he's very comfortable in the pocket then. He knows when to run then too, so he has this sort of innate rushing ability that allows him to get to the edge. He's not going to have, obviously, in a 5'11", 192 frame then, going to run with any power then, but he can get around the edge and pick up some extra yardage. He's not a statue in the pocket then, so that's what you're looking for with these sort of smaller, lighter guys then, that you're actually have that ability. So he has that then, and he has a very quick release then. I think that's a plus to him. The things I worry about with Stetson Bennett is he only operated out of the shotgun. The only time I saw them not operate out of the shotgun was when they did a flea flicker. That's the only play I saw that they didn't have him in shotgun formation. So in the NFL, you got to line up under center at some of these times. Then the other things is does he have the actual size to be an effective NFL quarterback? Then we're going to be talking about another one that has a short size, even shorter than in Bryce Young then, but that's going to be something that the NFL scouts are going to definitely dock him for. And it doesn't sound like they're going to dock Bryce Young for that, but they're definitely docking Stetson Bennett here. So that's definitely something to look forward here to then. But he's a baller then. He's a guy that won 2 national championships then, and it's well documented how he came up through the college ranks then and earned that position in the starting quarterback at Georgia then. So like I said, he has that sort of that it factor that you're looking for then. Like I said, is he ever going to be a week in, week out starter for an NFL team? Money says no, but could he be an effective backup that could play for for periods of time then, or fill in for a guy that gets injured then, or take advantage of a guy that's just not performing well? That's definitely possible then. When I see him, I sort of see Doug Flutie then. I know we're going way back there, but a shorter guy then, some rushing ability then, sort of prolific college career then. So I think he's a sort of a Doug Flutie, but and he's one of those guys that, like I said, I'm not going to be actively seeking him out then. In single QBs, unless he gets very good draft capital, I'm probably not drafting him, but he could be a guy that you pick up in later rounds in your super flex leagues. But like I say, I don't think he's going to be drafted overly high then. But he's a guy I would be okay having on my roster then. Like I said, I like the the talent there, but I think it's going to be limited as far as his production for your dynasty leagues. Then,
Yeah,
so that's
I
what I'm
think
looking
in
at
the
this.
NFL draft he's going to be like, around 5, 6, 7. So
Yeah, that's where the projections are right now. Then,
yeah,
but the other fun thing I love about doing these sort of watching these films then is looking at the guys that are coming up and Brock Bowers.
yep, yep.
He is awesome then. And we'll talk about Darnell Washington then too. Or is it Darnell or Daryl Washington?
I think it's Darnell.
Darnell. So we'll talk about Darnell Washington as well then too. But Brock Bowers, he is the specimen there. So he's going to be resetting the tight end market then, and hopefully adding some more depth at that very thin NFL tight end rooms then. But like I said, all depends on landing spot and whatnot. But yeah, like I said, Stetson Bennett, I probably have him coming in around that 7-8 range as far as my QBs this year then. So, but like I said, its value is going to be limited as an NFL player then, unless he gets that golden opportunity or things just go his way then. But like I said, it's something that in Superflex, a guy to keep your eye on then.
Yeah, I mean, he 1 point away from being my number 8 guy, so we're about the same there. What number did you give him?
I know we have the same criteria, but we sort of reward points differently. Then I gave him a 74.
Okay.
As far as my total. What'd you come in at?
65.
65 then. Yeah, I know a little bit different then. It also varies with the other position groups then too. But yep, so Stetson Bennett, like I said, just a guy to keep an eye on, my opinion then. But like I said, I think I like him a little more than you. But he's what he is then. So let's move on to the next guy here. So Max Dugan at a TCU then. So at the combine, he came in at 6 foot 1.5 inches then, 207 pounds, had 9 and 7/8 inch hands then. His 40 was a 4.52 40. 3-cone was actually a 7.26. I don't see QBs running that too often. His vert was a 30.5 inch vertical and a 9.5 inch or 9 feet 8 inch broad jump then.
So 98th percentile 40, 45th percentile vertical, 75th percentile broad jump, and that 3-cone was a little tough, 22nd percentile.
Yeah, that wasn't good. You're looking for that 3-cone to be around that 7 mark at least, or 7 or below then, as far as being that higher percentiles then, at least from the position groups then. I'm not sure as far as the QBs. But since you start off with Stetson, I'll start with Max here then. So first off, I want to say that I was going into him thinking I was going to like him a lot then. But I came away a little disappointed then. So he's a little bit lower down on my list than I thought he was going to be then. Things I love on him. I think he's one of the best rushers in this group then, outside of Anthony Anderson then. Anthony Richardson. He's a whole different type of breed then. But I think he has sneaky straight line speed then. I did that before I even saw his 40 then, and he sort of proved he has that good speed then. And he's very effective with the power. So he's almost like that Josh Allen type runner then, where he lowers his shoulder and just drags guys. I don't know if he can do that in the NFL. Josh Allen's a lot bigger than he came in at the combine then. But you definitely saw that in the college game then. So I think that's definitely a strong point for him then. But then everything else, like I said, he also has that sort of that leadership factor. He's a 4-year starter, won a BCS bowl game for a TCU team that probably shouldn't have been there then. So he definitely
should have won
took
the
his
Heisman.
team to the next level. You're going with the Heisman then?
Yeah, he should have definitely won the Heisman.
Well,
what a joke.
I forgot to talk about his stats then. So in 2022, he had a 63.7% completion percentage. He threw for 3,698 yards, 32 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Ran for another 423 yards then, and 9 touchdowns on the ground. So definitely excellent numbers then, and definitely carried a TCU team then that wasn't as good as on paper as the Alabamas, the Georgias of the world, then the Ohio States of the world then. But definitely is a baller then. But as far as the QB in part then, so has a quick release, looks comfortable in the pocket, knows when to run then, but He has limited accuracy then. So I saw a lot of overflow throws in the flats then, a lot of missed throws then. He has enough arm strength. He's probably more that 50-yard arm strength, but definitely not elite then. He only looks at one side of the field. I never saw him do more than one or two reads then. So it's either that guy's open or he's off running then. And he has decent decision-making ability, but like I said, it's sort of see that one side and go then. And then his ball placement, I think it's just average. And so he doesn't really help his wide receivers, misses the wide receivers at times then too. So like I said, I don't he has a lot to improve on to be a starting NFL quarterback. And I think that's going to definitely limit him going forward in the NFL. And I don't see an early starting job by any means with him. If he develops, he definitely would have some dynasty and fantasy football values from his running standpoint. That always is that sort of the cheat code we talk about then. But as far as guys I'm looking for, he's not there. He still comes in around that 9-10 range as far as my QBs then. But he's definitely in that sort of that fourth or fifth tier then as far as the QBs in this class.
I really liked Max Dugan. Typically, this is the type of quarterback you like.
Yeah.
So it's just really surprising. But
like I said, I thought I was going to love him, and I came away disappointed.
So there's two QBs in this class that remind me a lot of Gardner Minshew, and he is one of them. I'm going to call him Gardner Minshew light. So he came in at a 70 for me. So he was my number 6 QB. So just a few points ahead of some of the others. But I mean, he does a lot of things well that I think he just doesn't get enough credit for. You talked about all the leadership and intangibles and stuff like that. His mechanics are actually, I thought, pretty good. He has a really good base. He generates sound power. The problem is he's got good zip in the intermediate sort of range, but he cannot throw the ball down the field. So you kind of alluded to that. The longest throw I saw him throw was 45 yards max. So that's tough. And you see that in the accuracy. So 63% is the last 2 years, completion percentage, and a lot of that is these sort of short intermediate throws, not really just sort of check downs. He hits that like first or second read. So his pocket presence is okay. I feel like he tried to extend a few plays and led to him taking quite a few sacks. So he had 29 sacks, in 2022. But he can maneuver around pretty good and create some throwing lanes. And I thought he threw a nice catchable ball. So his anticipation was okay, nothing more really than average. But I thought he was pretty confident and decisive, especially in the intermediate range, and is definitely that of sort of a backup quarterback in the league. He'd be a really good game manager that has some rushing upside. So like you said, very decisive, sort of tactical runner, but also has some speed once he gets into open space to be able to, make some big plays on the ground. So I kind of like him. I don't know that, it's going to take a really good fit, but he's kind of in this middle range that, the rushing ability bumps him up. Maybe he could have some super flex value in your later rounds if he goes to a nice little landing spot as a backup.
Yeah, if he gets like that Desmond Ridder type spot, then I wasn't big on Desmond Ridder. I thought his tape left a lot to be desired, but he had that rushing ability. So I think he's a lot like Desmond Ridder. I actually like him better than Desmond Ridder, but if he gets that spot, then he's going to have some value. But if not, if he's that third QB on the depth chart, obviously it's going to help hold no value there.
I think he's in that 5 to 7 range too. I think his pro days, hopefully, that's where he's going to like lock in with a team that will take a chance on him later. But he's going to be that round 5 to 7 pick, so he's not going to have that big draft capital behind him. So kind of the same thing as Stetson Bennett in my eyes. It's kind of a wash.
Yeah, and like I said, he has the size you're looking for then, so it's that he has that to his advantage compared to Stetson. But I think Stetson's a more well-rounded quarterback as far as the QB play, so that's why I give him the bump there then. Yeah, you said he came in at a 70 for you. I had him at a 69 then, so 5 points below Stetson then. But I think Stetson just has the better QB aspect, and obviously Max has a better running ability then too. So, but should we move on to the next guy?
Yep, let's do it.
Okay, so Jake Haener out of Fresno State actually was originally in Washington then too, but then transferred to Fresno State then. So he came in at the combine at 6 foot, 207 pounds, 9 3/8 inch hands then. Did not run the 40, had a 35-inch vertical, a 9 feet 6-inch broad jump, and a 3-cone at 7.01.
Yeah, so 61st percentile broad jump, 87th percentile vertical jump, 3-cone 70th percentile.
And then as far as his production then, so it was a starter for the last 3 years at Fresno State then. Probably his best year was in 2021. He had a 67.1% completion percentage, threw for just over 4,000 yards, 33 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. And then in 2022, had a 72% completion percentage, almost had 2,900 yards then, 20 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions then. So I'll let you. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are. I'll let you start with Jake here.
Jake Haener. He came in at the bottom of my QB list. He's not a terrible quarterback. I feel like there were no kill glasses in the people we scouted, so thank goodness.
Yeah, you didn't make me scout on any kill glasses.
Yeah,
this time,
I
so
screened it this
that.
time. So, but yeah, Jake Haener. The biggest thing that you see is he's got a lot of holes. He throws very poorly on the run. He makes a lot of throws off of his back foot. He just doesn't. He has a big, prolonged wind-up throw, and he doesn't use his legs well. So throw mechanics are not great. His big knock is this dude is immobile. He definitely does not maneuver super well in the pocket. He takes a lot of sacks, 28 sacks, and he might pick up an occasional first down, but it's few and far between. So challenge there. He makes up for his, ability in the pocket and his poor rushing with his arm accuracy. So he had a 72% completion percentage in 2022, and he throws an above-average ball. The thing that really helps is he has really good anticipation. If he didn't, then there's no way he could overcome his poor arm strength. It's very average at best. The longest throw I saw on tape was 53 yards in the games that we watched. So he's a good sort of in the pocket. He has to be in the pocket. Needs great protection in order to be successful at the next level. And it's hard for these guys to really be more than just a member of the QB room, because if you don't have the arm and you don't have the mobility, it's really tough. So he's a good decision maker. He's got, throws ball placement's a little bit above average, but he's not a guy that, I don't think he'll be drafted. I think he'll be an undrafted guy.
Yeah, I think 7th round at best, maybe.
Yeah.
For him, and most likely undrafted free agent. Then I think he's a baller. I think he has that. He looks like he leads his team well. He looks like he has those intangibles then. But I agree with pretty much everything you're saying. Then I don't think he's an immobile quarterback. I think he looks like he's quick, and I think that's evidenced by his 3-cone drill. But he doesn't look to run. I thought he should do that a lot more because his line was bad. Like, he got sacked so many times. I don't know if he just didn't recognize the blitzes or didn't take the time to didn't get out fast enough, which I thought he should. Like I said, I thought he should run more. But he had definitely on a bad line then. The arm strength is not there. He has a pretty good zip in the sort of the short to mid range, but definitely not the long ball that you're looking for. Then I couldn't believe that he had a 72% accuracy based on the tape we saw. Then I saw easy misses, like throws to the flat, high throws, and like I said, I'm like, was he really 72%? I just couldn't believe that. So I I don't know if it was the throwing mechanics then or whatnot then, but it just didn't show up on the games that we watched then. And like I said, his ball placement's okay. But he doesn't see the field completely. He has that 1 to 2 reads at most, then limited progression. And in the NFL, you're not always that first and second read are not always going to be open, so you have to be able to go through your progressions very well. So and he only had 3 interceptions this year, but there were a lot of questionable throws. I think he will have a lot more interceptions in the NFL.
Oh yeah, like you said, he stares dudes down too. So yeah.
So like I said, I'm not even if he's drafted, I'm not drafting him in super flex leagues unless he gets like second round draft capital. Even then, I probably try to shy away from him and go more for the position players. But like I said, he's a baller, but I don't think he's going to offer you anything in Dynasty fantasy football then.
Yep.
Moving on to our next guy. So Jaren Hall out of BYU. So he came in at 6 foot even, 207 pounds. So 207 pounds is a pretty popular weight here. The last 3 guys had that. And Jaren Hall's hands are 9.5 inches. So he did not run anything at the combine, and I think he's saving that for the pro day. He may have had an injury that he was sort of working back from.
Yeah, I know he had a right shoulder injury. I don't know the extent of that. Maybe that's what kept him out. I'm not sure why he didn't. I'm surprised he didn't participate.
Yeah, I think he would have done.
He has a lot to improve.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
And do you remember if he threw at the combine? I can't remember if he was one of the guys that threw or not.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I want to say yes.
I don't remember.
But if you're saying he had a right shoulder injury, I wouldn't think maybe not then. But yeah, as far as stats go, so his best year was this past year, 66% completion percentage, threw for 3,171 yards, 31 touchdowns and 6 interceptions then, and rushed for 350 yards. So I think he has that. Definitely has that rushing ability. I'm surprised he didn't run then. So I'll start off with Jaren here then. So I came away pleasantly surprised with him then. So he's probably in that third tier, that top of the third tier then. He's a guy that has, like I said, decent rushing ability then. He has good speed. He can tuck and run. He's a 2-year starter then. He's a guy that plays through injury then too. So we saw that on tape then, and there were some games where he had to rely more on that rushing ability because of the injuries then too. And I thought he had pretty solid mechanics, solid footwork then. His arm accuracy was very good then, and he's a guy that can actually throw on the run then too. So that's definitely a plus in today's NFL then. And he had a similar arm strength to Stetson Bennett then, so that 50 to 55 yard arm strength then. And he could throw outside the numbers too, so that was definitely a positive then. He's another guy, though, that has sort of a limited reads then. He may scan just one side of the field at most then. And if that's not there, he actually has the good decision-making to just go to this check down then too, so he's not afraid to do that. So I think that helps him a lot then. That goes to his decision-making, I think is very good then. And he's a guy that actually throws the ball away when he needs to, and like I said, hits that check down. So I think he has the tools you're looking for an NFL quarterback. I wish he was taller then. I wish he had a little bit more arm strength then. But I think he's a guy that could offer some fantasy potential then, based on his rushing ability. And like I said, he has the tools to be a decent quarterback. Will he be drafted as a starter right from the get-go? Probably not. Will he be a guy that could be drafted in that 4th, 5th round? I could see that then, and it could have an opportunity later on, possibly. And so like I said, I think he probably offers some super flex value, but probably not one of those guys that slides into that single QB draftable value in your rookie drafts this year.
So what number did you give him?
I gave him actually a 74 then, so he came in at the same score as Stetson Bennett then.
Wow. It's amazing because we watch the same tape, so I just don't understand sometimes. But tell
me what you think.
62.
You hated him.
Yeah, number 11 on my board.
Oh boy, I like him.
He's not a horrible prospect, but there's not much special. I thought his mechanics actually weren't that great. He has this slow sort of wind-up release. His base is okay, and he actually throws the ball on the run better than he does standing in the pocket. He maneuvers around and extends plays, so that's a positive. And he doesn't take a lot of sacks because of that. He sort of gets the ball out. But he's a guy that, like you said, I agree with the arm strength. Very average there, sort of falling in that 50 to 55 yard range. But it's everything else. So it's like he stares down receivers. He throws the ball way too soft too much of the time. And his placement, like he cannot make those tight window throws. And some of it's because his anticipation is very average. So you gotta, like, if you don't have good anticipation, you gotta have the arm strength to sort of make up for it. And he doesn't have that. That makes it tough. He completed 66%, of his throws in 2022. And a lot of that's because of these little short, dink and dunk throws, that sort of elevates him up there. But he doesn't turn the ball over, so that's a positive. He only had 6 picks, so that's not too bad. But he's a guy that, he needed to come out at the combine and, drop a huge 40, show that athletic stuff, because I didn't see that he was a super athlete on film. I thought he was just okay. I don't think he's going to come out there and, maybe run 60th percentile 40, maybe hit 60 percentile across the board, but I'm not super impressed by him.
I could see a 4.6 40 then for him. So that's definitely good enough, and like I said, it offers that cheat code for fantasy football then. But I
maybe a 7th round. He might be a 7th round pick. I mean, he's somebody that I'm not going to draft, regardless of where he goes.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the NFL mock drafts or the community's sort of placing him right now, but I think he's going to be. At least I think what I saw was that 4th, 5th roundish then. But it's all going to come down to what the ultimate fit where he goes then too. But yeah, but I think he has potential then, and like I said, based on where he goes, it's going to determine his dynasty draft value then. But we'll have to see then. Moving on to the next quarterback on the list, Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee via Virginia Tech. Played his first 3 years at Virginia Tech from 2018 to 2020 then, and the last 2 years at Tennessee. So at the combine, came in at 6'3", 217 pounds, had 10.5-inch hands, did not participate in the field drills. He's coming back from the ACL tear. He suffered towards the end of the year then. But as far as his stats then, so had a pretty good 2021, 2022, probably his best year in 2022 here. Almost a 70% completion percentage. Threw for 3,135 yards, 27 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. And he actually ran for another 430 yards then and 5 touchdowns. So definitely a guy that can get it done on the air and the ground then. But since you're the Tennessee guy here, I will let you start off with Mr. Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, so typically with these Tennessee guys, I end up sort of grading them kind of harder because I watch every game multiple times, so I'm a little bit of a tougher judge on them. But, just want to say right off the bat, Hendon Hooker brought Tennessee back to national relevance. Without him this year, they would not have been even close to as successful as they were. He really took the keys to that Josh Heupel offense and took it to a whole nother level. He was a perfect game manager with upside, and he's not somebody that has super plus skills that will translate to the NFL, but he's got a lot of stuff that makes him an absolute steal in that sort of 3rd, 4th round, and somebody's going to get a really good quarterback. So Hendon Hooker, his throwing mechanics are, he's got a little bit of a longer windup. He throws with his base pretty well. His footwork is pretty good. His pocket presence is excellent. There's times when he has those really bad sacks that he takes, and he takes some big hits. But for the most part, he manages the pocket really well. He had 23 sacks against him in 2022. And Tennessee boasted a pretty good offensive line. I think Darnell Wright, left tackle, is going to definitely be a first round pick, maybe earlier first round pick. But his he doesn't have super big arm strength, but it will surprise you. He can throw it a lot farther than you think. And he threw about 55 to 60 yards on tape. His arm accuracy is really good. Now, I know Tennessee throws a lot of shorter passes, but his accuracy as far as completing the ball and getting it there is good. So, 68%, 69%. He finished 7th in this year in completion percentage in college football. The problem is his ball placement. It's pretty tough. If he had to go out there and throw a ball through a tire, like he would struggle at that drill. But he can get it. I mean, he can get it there on the numbers and thereabouts. But it's just the ball placement's tough. His anticipation, his sort of decisiveness, inside this Tennessee offense was phenomenal, and that's why they were so tough to stop as an offense. That's going to limit him at the next level. You're going to have to be able to see him do that all over the field, not just sort of half-field reads. So that's a knock just coming from this offense in general. But he's an absolute awesome decision maker. He protects the football. He does not turn it over. It's not just like he had 1 year where he only threw a couple picks. Like he had 5 picks in the last 2 years, and they throw the football a ton. So he's a super good at managing the game. And the other thing that we didn't mention is not only is this dude excellent game manager, but he can add it on the ground rushing the ball. Now you got to see how he bounces back from this ACL injury, but I mean, I anticipate they're saying they're expecting him to be back, for training camp. So we'll see. I don't know about all that, but it's not like he's going to get the keys to the kingdom right out of the gate anyway. But he can absolutely get it done on the ground. In 2021, he had 620 yards, and he has some definite sneaky rushing ability. Can break the pocket and extend plays and such. So Hendon Hooker is going to be an excellent NFL quarterback. I don't think he's sort of a top tier quarterback as far as like the things you look for. That's sort of that high ceiling, but his floor is super safe. Think Teddy Bridgewater, but a little bit better. So he's gonna latch on with the team, be an excellent member to the quarterback room. And like I said, I will not be surprised, especially with all the positivity of all these meetings he's had with teams, all the positive news coming out. I think he's a 3rd, 4th rounder, and somebody that could potentially be a steal, in your later rounds of your rookie draft and Superflex for sure.
Yeah. So another guy. He actually falls in that same category as Max Duggan. So Hendon Hooker and Max Duggan, I have them both at that 9-10 ranked in the QB class this year.
Yeah, so Hooker I had a 74. 74. Yeah,
I had a 68. So, like I said, I have him right next to Max Duggan. Both of them have that rushing ability then. They're able to carry that load. They get those extra points then for your fantasy teams. Then he is definitely a baller. Then definitely excellent protecting the ball. Then I don't want to say this as a knock that he doesn't throw interceptions, but do you kind of want to see some more interceptions on the board then, taking more chances, especially in the college game? That shows you're trying to throw into these tighter windows then and sort of throw guys open then. So I think he probably hits.
Did you see Jalen Hyatt this year? He just ran by everybody.
Yeah, I think he threw it to Jalen Hyatt in that sort of that mid range, and then Jalen Hyatt took it to the house then. I think he definitely has accuracy issues, but I think he's still overall good in that short to mid range then. But definitely some deep ball consistency issues then. He tends to overthrow the guys a lot then too. So he needs to work on that touch then.
Especially you mentioned that he does have a lot of sort of overthrows, but if you look in the same game, he has so many of these deep ball completions, and I don't have his deep ball completion percentage, but I would bet that it's rather good. He hits it more times than not, but he's not going to hit it every time.
Yeah, but there's times when I see these guys, they're just wide open, and he misses them. That's what stands out for me then. And I think he has that 50 to 55 arm strength then, yard arm strength then. So it's not elite then, but it's still good then. So it's not a detriment to him that he's doesn't have a noodle arm then per se. But like I said, I agree with what you said about that ball placement then. He definitely needs work on that then. The balls are rarely on the numbers, and he needs to help his wide receivers out more. So he definitely relied on his wide receivers a lot then. And he's the Tennessee offense, like most throws that he made, he quickly looks to one side of the field, and then he comes back to the other side of the field, and he looks at that first read, and it's designed that way. So he's not. You can almost think like he's scanning the field, but he's not. He tries to throw the defense off by looking the completely opposite side and then coming back and then trying to hit that first read then. So definitely the offense is not designed to have good read progression. So that's going to hinder him going forward then as far as is he going to be able to do that consistently on the NFL level. And then I worry about this ACL tear then too. I don't think he's going to be starting out of the gate then either way then, but is that going to hinder him from getting his foot in the door early then too? But because they say he's going to be back for training camp, I highly doubt that. I think he's probably going to be a guy that may start out on the PUP list then, and then ultimately get his chance then, or at least get with the team then and start to learn the offense. So that's going to hinder him in his first year then. Like I said, I think there's tangibles there. He has the size then, so he's probably had the best size so far we talked about in this class then, and then he has that rushing ability, so he could have that fantasy option. But I think there's a lot of things that need improving on from the quarterbacking aspect then, and like I said, I see him in that very similar context that I'm talking about with Max Dugan then. There's positives there, but definitely question marks. But they're talking about him being that third round pick then, so he could have some decent draft capital and could be a guy you're targeting in superflex leagues then, as far as a guy you stash in your practice squad then, and then hope he gets the opportunity then. But like I said, I don't have him graded as high as you or very high in this class then, because I see some things that he needs to improve. But he has the tools to make things happen if things go right and he makes those good steps in the right direction then too. Where does he fall in your overall rankings then for your class?
Number 4.
Oh, number 4 then.
7 out of 74, yeah. But this number from number 4 down through number 7, 8, I got all those guys pretty much in the same tier. They're all kind of the same tier, just a few points apart. So, for me, there's 3 top guys in the class. Then you've got a couple guys that I like. But yeah, that's where he fell for me. Where's he at for you?
9-10.
Okay,
so he's
that's tough.
And but honestly, from Jaren Hall, I have more that 5 range. He got a 74, so it's a 68 to a 74. So it's not as big a difference as you think then. But so let's move on here. So. Another guy getting a lot of buzz, formerly a Penn State Nittany Lion, Mr. Will Levis out of Kentucky, was at Penn State in 2019 and 2020, was more used as more of a power back then instead of a quarterback then. But at the combine, he came in at 6'4", 229 pounds then, had 10 and 5/8 hands then. Surprisingly didn't run the 40 then. I thought he would do well with that. Had a 34-inch vertical and a 10 feet and 4-inch broad jump then.
Yeah, so 83rd percentile vertical, 95th percentile broad jump.
Yeah, so it definitely has athleticism there.
Did you see why they asked him, well, why are you going to throw at the combine? Did you hear what he said?
No, I didn't hear what he said.
He said, I have a damn cannon.
Oh, it's true. It's true. There's no denying that. So I think I gave him the best arm strength in this class then. But But yeah, as far as his production, then, so at Penn State, for some reason, probably God only knows why, James Franklin had him playing above had him below Sean Clifford. But when he got to Kentucky, his 2021 season was probably his best then. 66% completion percentage, 2,826 yards, 24 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, ran for 76 yards and 9 touchdowns, and then had a sort of backtrack this past year. 65.4% completion percentage, 2,406 yards, 19 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and actually had 107 yards lost on rushing this year, which I found very surprising. Then, but
they count all those stupid sacks and stuff in there, but
the film this year tells it why. Then, so I think it's since this guy's a former Penn Stater, I'll start off with Will Levis then.
I will say this before you get started. If Will Levis had been the quarterback of Penn State this year, they would have made the playoff and probably been tough to handle.
Definitely.
It would have made
with the running backs they
difference.
have then, and the defense, the Penn State defense this year was very good. Yeah, but I'll give this to Sean Clifford. He played his best game of all time in that bowl game against Utah. We were actually debating about whether to even scout or about to add Sean Clifford to the list then, but he didn't get a combine invite, so we decided not to do that. But Will Levis, so obvious strength, big time arm, great zip then, 60 yards, easy throws on a rope. Like he's not lofting in the air. He's putting on a rope 60 yards then. And so he's the guy that can make all the throws in the NFL. No question about it then. I think he has pretty good mechanics, good footwork, stands tall, maneuverable in the pocket then. Accuracy needs improvement at times then. I think that's something that you can work on then. His vision, he does go through progressions then. He actually ran a pro-style offense at Kentucky, so that's definitely a big positive then. His decision-making definitely needs to be better. And his anticipation can be better than as well. But then as far as his rushing ability, so he's a guy that's going to be a better rusher probably in the pros than he was definitely in this past year at Kentucky then. I think he's going to have this. He's a powerful guy then. He's going to get touchdowns, so he's going to be used at the goal line then. And he's a guy that has that sort of that leadership factor then too. So that's what you're looking for. He came in for, I think Kentucky was like a 5-6 win team then, and then he took them to I think it was a 10-win season in 2021 then. So he seems well liked by his team then. If you only watch the 2022 film, you could come away with a different perspective about him then too. So I actually watched some 2021 games then when he had a lot better line then. And he had a lot better receivers then. Like he had Wan'Dale Robinson then. I kind of want to buy Wan'Dale Robinson this year too. Looking back then to see how productive he was then, how good he was then. But the line this year, he was sacked 37 times. 37 times. That's just ridiculous then. And then he had to get the ball out very quickly. He had to use his checkdowns a lot then too. So I think this past year could get people that to downgrade his overall grade a little bit here, but I see the potential there. He has all the tools and size and intangibles to be a very good athletic quarterback and a very good or a very high top 12 fantasy QB in the NFL. Then it's going to take the right system and the right development. Then he's still being molded right now, but I'm definitely looking to get Will Levis on Superflex teams and also in my single QB leagues then too. So I have him as my number 3 QB. He's probably bouncing that 3 to 4. It's all depends on what the draft capital is for that then. But
what number did you
I
give
definitely
him?
like the Will Levis.
What number?
75 then. So
okay.
He scored 1 point above the Stetson Bennett of the world then. But I think just with his potential and everything else that he has, these intangibles, then that's where I'm looking for him to make that next step then. So I think he's what I saw on film. You had to go by what I have on film here, but the the ceiling for Will Levis is astronomical. It's significantly higher than these other guys I rated at 74, like the Jaren Halls, the Stetson Bennett's of the world then. And so that's where you're looking at more of this potential. You got to factor that in when you're doing your overall rankings then as well then too. The things that scare me, did you hear that he's scared of milk?
No.
I read this tweet. He's definitely scared of milk, and he screams when he sees milk. I don't know if that's true. He puts mayo in his coffee.
Oh my gosh.
And he also eats bananas whole at times then, and when they're brown. So
you know what? Come to the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast for the deep dive.
Yeah, well,
on the useless information.
The milk, being scared of milk, that kind of scares me. That's a
oh
negative.
My gosh.
So I may bump him below my guy going back and forth between 3 and 4. So he may bump in that 4th range with that milk issue. But tell me what you think of Will Levis here.
So I watched Will Levis play Tennessee in Knoxville in person. So I expected to watch Will Levis, and just like all the comments that you guys are leaving on his film that we got cut up, of how bad he sucks and how inaccurate he is and all this bad stuff, I expected to just hate this guy.
Yeah, the Tennessee game was not good.
Oh, no.
That was awful.
But this guy, he came in at number 2 on my board. I'm at 77. 77. I love him. He is going in. I can't wait to see what team brings him in. It can't be. I don't know. I don't even want to project it. I just hope he gets a good landing spot. I mean, honestly, he's got to go with the top 5 easy. Now Carolina is going to be taking a quarterback number 1. So he's going in the top 5 easy. So I want him to go to Indianapolis. He goes to Indianapolis. He is a locked-in. I love him there. But anyway, what you see on film. And like you said, you have to grade what you see on film. His ceiling is super high because he's got all kinds of good, characteristics. Number 1, like you said, cannon. 62 yards on film, easy, on a rope. He can absolutely rip it. His mechanics are pretty good. He gets the ball out super quick. He can flip his hips all the way around when he's on the run and throws the ball really well. He does get these sort of like happy feet, but I mean, heck, you've got less than like 2 seconds to throw the football, and they're planting you on your back with this terrible line. You're going to get happy feet and develop these bad habits. And that's what happens to these guys when they rush them in to play in the NFL. They're not used to that. Well, he got a full dose this year. But good mechanics. His pocket presence, I thought, was good. I thought that, those sacks, way over half of them are not on him. There's nothing you could do. So I think his pocket presence is actually pretty good. I thought he did a good job getting the ball out quick, or it would have been a whole lot worse. His arm accuracy, yeah, he does have some accuracy issues at times, but overall, when he is not getting planted and having to throw the ball while he's getting hit, he throws the ball pretty well. I was surprised to see that he had a 65% completion percentage. I thought it was going to be like 52. But his, he doesn't have time to scan the field, but he does go through some progressions when he does have time. So I think he sees the field pretty well. He throws with above average anticipation. And even though he does have some inconsistent ball placement at times, I think that a lot of this stuff you saw on the 2022 tape, it was better in 2021, and I expect that on a team where he has the opportunity to, have some time to throw the ball, he's gonna excel. So you mix that in with the ability to add the rushing dynamic. I really, really like Will Levis, and to be honest, even though he came in at number 2 and he's a significant point difference down from my number 1 guy, in the right situation, I can absolutely see him leapfrogging and being the top quarterback that I would take off the board in Superflex. You might think I'm crazy, but you watch where the landing spots are. Let's say Bryce Young goes to Carolina and Will Levis goes to Indianapolis. That's going to be a tough sort of debate there, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's so. So I assume you have Bryce Young number one.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
I'll surprise you.
We'll
with my
talk
number
about
one
it
then later.
We'll talk about it, I guess.
But yeah, the landing spot's gonna be very important. But having Frank Wright in Carolina, it's a good landing spot then too. So they have a very good coaching staff. But that's more for our dive when we go back and review where these guys go after the draft. Then, but yeah, but Will Levis probably has the second most untapped potential in this class. Then we'll talk about the guy that has the most. I think you probably already know of him if you watch the combine. But yeah, but it's he could be that he could be QB1 in fantasy. Then could he also flame out in a couple of years? That's possible too. Then so it's the ceiling's very high. The floor is lower than say a Bryce Young. Then, but definitely a guy that you should be drafting in all your leagues then. So let's move on to our next friend, our next quarterback here, Tanner McKee out of Stanford then. So tall dude, 6'6", well built, 231 pounds then. Had only 9 3/8 hands then, which I was found surprising. Didn't run a 40, had a 33-inch vertical, a 9-foot 6-inch broad jump, and a 7.22 three-cone drill.
Yeah, so 26th percentile three-cone, 75th percentile vertical jump, 61st percentile broad jump.
Yep. And as far as stats, at the start of the past 2 years, then his 2022 stats were 62% completion percentage, threw for just under 3,000 yards. Then had 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and had a negative 90 yards rushing due to sacks and him being a statue. But I did Will Levis first. You can do Tanner McKee.
So Tanner McKee, pretty sure he's a big 5-star prospect. Lots of hype. I think he went on like a mission trip and didn't play football for the first couple years, then came back. And
so you're telling me he should have stayed on the mission trip?
He's going to be in the NFL. He's going to be in a quarterback room, but he's not going to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Spoiler alert, he's my last ranked quarterback of the guys we scouted.
Well, he's number 12, so he's the guy. He's 1 point ahead of Haener. So he came in at 58. There are things that he does really well. His vision, the way he sees the field, the way that he goes through his reads, he routinely gets to his checkdowns, and seems to sort of have above average anticipation. Thank goodness he has above average anticipation. And really good ball placement. Those are all the big positives because arm strength is definitely average at best. He gets receivers absolutely crushed. And you don't see downfield throws because he can't throw the ball down the field. And so he's more that sort of in the pocket game manager. And you mentioned statue. Like he is definitely a statue. He's like a Kill Glass level statue. Standing in the pocket. So he doesn't offer much there as regards to, rushing ability, but he's fairly accurate, 62% completion percentage. He's a very meh prospect. Somebody's going to take a chance on him. He's got the size. So I think he's probably a 6th round pick, something like that. He'll be an okay member for a quarterback room. He's, a smart guy. So I think he'll be a, positive member in the quarterback room, but he's not a guy that I can ever see being, worthwhile in fantasy. And I highly doubt he ever gets a starting job.
Yeah, I won't draft him anywhere in fantasy unless he gets crazy draft capital that we're not anticipating. Then it doesn't really translate to fantasy value. He doesn't rush. He's also the worst sneaker, like QB sneak player that I've seen. You think a guy that's 6'6", 231 pounds could sneak the ball. He's terrible at that. So he's not going to get any sneakster touchdowns at all. He, as you said, he has the limited arm strength. Then probably some of the lower arm strength in the class. Then he does run a pro style offense. He does have okay anticipation. But he's just not good enough. So I don't see how he was a 5-star prospect then, but I just don't see it, and I think I'll leave it at that. I'm not drafting him. He's practice squad at best. If you do draft him in the later rounds, then and he gets that good landing spot then. But like I said, I don't think it's going to translate to anything. I think it's just going to be a wasted pick. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not really ever really big on the Stanford quarterbacks then, other than Andrew Luck back in the day. But I don't see with Tanner McKee here then as well then too. But to each their own then. I wish him the best. So I think that's our last guy of this episode then. So check out the YouTube channel. That's where you can see all the film we're watching. Comment on that. Tell us what you're seeing then too.
Yeah, so everyone sees these prospects different. It's there's sort of fine line between a lot of them, how we have them ranked. So definitely love to hear your comments, down below on our YouTube channel, and for all you guys listening on, Apple Podcasts and all that stuff. Let us know through Twitter what your thoughts are on some of these guys, and if there's any other prospects out there that you think are worthwhile for us to scout. I know that there's like Tyson Bagent, I think that's how you pronounce it, Bagent, out of Shepherd. A lot of people are requesting his film, so we'll get that up here shortly. But
and his dad's the arm wrestling champion of the world.
Wow,
he's like won it for many years. So
okay,
and he calls himself the Beast too. I'll combine info then. Yeah.
but yeah, let us know what your comments are on these guys, and be love to chat.
Anything else you got, Scotty?
Nope, not for this one.
Not for this one. Okay. So this is Joseph Adrian signing off.
And this is Scott Martin, and you just listened to the Dynasty Interview Fantasy Football Podcast.